Hello, everybody. Welcome to the February 2024 SJAA Imaging SIG meeting. And tonight we've got Imran Badr, and he's going to tell us all about his journey getting started in astrophotography and how he got to where he is today. So Imran, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Haya, and thanks everybody for joining this session. So as I mentioned, my name is Imran Badr. Today I'm gonna talk about a little bit of when I started, what I started with, and some tips, some suggestions, and please feel free to ask questions in between and interrupt. I'm happy to take questions. Let's start with that. So a brief introduction about myself, my educational background. I'm an electrical engineer from NED University in Karachi, Pakistan. I moved to San Jose a little over 2 decades ago, in the Bay Area. 2 decades ago, I lived in San Jose. Right now, I'm working as a technology manager, leading embedded systems, software design and development teams and operating systems. I started astrophotography in late 2022. So it all started off with planetary, like some of us do that. In June of 2022, I had a 6SE Celestron telescope, and I was just trying to do some visual on planets like Saturn and Jupiter and whatnot. Then I considered a camera, a cheap, I think, $100 camera. Not even sure where it was. It died after 2 sessions. And I took some shots of Jupiter. I did not know how to do it, so I went online and looked for it. And then I said, okay, you know what? Why don't we just do some deep space? The term DSO really attracted me, and I said, okay, let me try to take some shots. And then I took some shots and figured out I cannot take more than 15, 20-second exposures because of you know why. Right? So I thought, okay, you know what? I need to buy a good mount and a telescope and whatnot. So I did some research, and I ended up buying a Skywatcher Esprit 180, a good 550 millimeter focal length telescope with AM5, because my plan was to just keep it light, keep it easy, and not too much. I was learning. I had no idea how to take and process images. Later on, I got Celestron also last year, April. And then I have the cameras that a lot of people use, 2600 MC Pro, MM Pro, and 533 as well. I still have not graduated to NINA and PhD 2, etc. I am using ASIR Plus and ASIR Pro. It's working out fine so far. A lot of friends that I have made, they are consistently trying for me to move to NINA and whatnot. I have bought a mini PC. I believe it's sitting right here somewhere, but I haven't set it up yet. But I'll do that. So here's my scopes posing for the camera. On the left side, you can see Skywatcher Split 100 riding on AM5, and on the right side we have Celestron 9.25 HHD on EQ6R Pro. Backyard. Normally, I image from backyard. On the left side, you have you can see that my both images are taking shots of the clouds up there. But I do go to Pinnacles National Park on the west. That is a beautiful location for all us in the Bay Area. I think it is a very nice place. It's a nice parking lot and a bathroom. Just be careful of those lights when they turn on. They don't get off for 15 minutes or so. So I go there with my high school and college friends sometimes. I've been lucky to go to Death Valley exactly a little over 1 year ago in January of last year. Since then, I've been trying to go, but it's always something that comes up, mostly weather. But these are the locations I normally image with. I'm going to share some of my images that I have taken over the last year and a half. Sombrero Galaxy, which I took through Celestron 9.25 with the reducer 0.7. And then from my Esprit 100, the Triangulum Galaxy in the middle, and this M63, the Sunflower Galaxy, which I imaged a little over 2 weeks ago from Pinnacles West through using Celestron 9.25. A couple of other images as well. I'm very happy with my 5-hour image, 5-hour worth of integration of the Helix Nebula on the left. I imaged it using Celestron 9.25 with 2600 MC Pro and L Ultimate filter. It came out pretty good. And the image on the right is using Esprit 100 with in SHO. Even the stars are SHO, which I will talk about it later. And a suggestion to people who are starting astrophotography. This is Lion Nebula, which I again took from my backyard using Esprit 100 and SHO filters with RGB stars. So you can see the difference of on the right side, the stars here and stars here. So we'll talk about that later as part of my suggestion to people who are just starting astrophotography is to shoot RGB stars. Don't go for SHO stars. All right, so all of my images are available on Astrobin. Just search Imran Badr on Astrobin. You will see all the images that I have taken recently. I say recently because it's only a year and a half of me imaging these things. So today I'm going to talk about some very high-level deep space imaging targets. Since this presentation is mainly geared towards people who are starting off in this hobby, and then how to select targets based upon your equipment, based upon your location, and this is something which I also ran into, whether I go narrowband or broadband or narrowband plus broadband. So there is something that I will talk about a little bit, and adding narrowband to broadband is something which really gives a different dimension to an image. And then typical question that how much integration time should I use? And that I also had those questions when I was starting off in astrophotography. I thought 8 to 9 hours would be enough for everything. Then I figured out that sometimes you have to go up to 60 hours for one of the image. I went to 150 hours just 2 months ago, finished that project. So we're going to talk about that as well. Some high-level PixInsight overflow, what process do I use? Not religiously. I do keep making changes, but most of the time, what workflow I use. I'm going to talk about that, and then in the end, I'm going to talk about some background in stars processing, which are extremely important to have a good image. Some deep space imaging targets, typical broadband targets, which are like galaxies, reflection nebula, dark nebula, star clusters. So they're considered broadband targets. And then we're going to talk about some narrowband targets, like emission and supernova remnants, and what target is best suitable for what sky type and what type of filters you're supposed to use. So first thing, which I also ran into early on, like a year and a half ago, when I was starting off in this hobby, was when to use broadband, when to use narrowband. It always confused me. I still have several hours of images of broadband target that I shot using MC Pro and L Ultimate filters. I'm keeping them as a souvenir of my early days from late 2022. So what are the things that you need to consider before starting a project? What is your sky type? How far are you from the city lights? Some parts of the sky may be darker than other parts of the sky, like my backyard. If I take a look at it, on the west side I have downtown San Jose, so that area of sky is pretty bright. But my southeast is pretty dark. So some objects, they do traverse the sky from northeast to southwest. So after midnight or so, my images or my subs start becoming brighter as they cross over to the center of the site. So we'll talk about that. What is the focal length? And if the target is right for the focal length and the camera sensor size. Many times, when I started off, I was thinking of shooting Sombrero Galaxy using 550 mm f/100. And somebody said, no, don't try it. It will only fit in a few pixels at that focal length. So it is extremely important before starting off on a project to basically see if your equipment, your camera sensor size, means your telescope focal length as well, are they going to work for the target or not? If the target is too small, if the target is too big. So it is important for you to do that. Telescopius is a great free tool. You can download an app or on your cell phones or mobile devices, or go to internet, the browser, and go to Telescopius and plug in your information about your equipment information. And it will show based upon your camera sensor size, your focal length, any reducer you're using and whatnot. It will tell you, how it looked like, and you can also adjust frames and camera angle, which you can use later on to frame the object from your backyard. So it's important. Elevation of the object. Check the trajectory of the target. We all have obstructions in our way, like, a tree or neighbor's house or our own house. Like for my backyard, my north side is completely blocked, but I have little openings on the side, which I use for polar alignment. But make sure that, you check what is the trajectory, if it is too high or too low. Some objects are pretty low in the sky. And if you will have enough time to shoot, and if it is too low on the horizons, then most likely or not, you will not have good quality image. So if the trajectory of the object is higher in the sky, then you will get better results, just because you will go through less atmosphere. Stellarium is a great tool. Its free version is pretty good, and it can be used to check target's elevation, its trajectory. I normally go to the backyard and then use Stellarium and basically see how it's going to traverse in the sky. So it's useful to check, if it is going to be imageable from the backyard. Normally, I would say most of the broadband targets, you should only try it from darker skies, unless you just want to have an image that you want to keep it in your collection to see that you shot that target. But you will not get good quality image if you shoot broadband from city skies. I have done that. I'll share that later on in this presentation. But things like, dark nebula, almost all the galaxies, other than some brighter ones, like Andromeda is pretty bright, that you can shoot from anywhere. And even like Reflection Nebula, M45. Those are the typical broadband targets that you should attempt from darker skies. From the city skies, the bottle 5, 6, 7, 8, narrowband are the best return of your time. And there is no shortage of narrowband targets. The fabulous Orion and North American, California, Lagoon Nebula. Lagoon Nebula is a little lower on the horizon, but it's still imageable. But it's pretty bright. I remember when I was shooting Lagoon Nebula, I was taking 300 seconds exposure of hydrogen alpha, and it was so bright that I had to bring it down to 180 seconds of HA exposure. So there is no shortage of narrowband targets. Try to shoot them from the brighter skies. Some planetary nebulae, like Helix Nebula, you can shoot. It's a beautiful target. it's a big eye in the sky. I love Helix Nebula. So that's also imageable. And, of course, as I said, some broadband targets, Andromeda, Triangulum, Boreas Galaxy, all of those you can target from brighter skies. All right, so the question is that narrowband, should I shoot narrowband? Should I shoot LRGB or narrowband plus LRGB? So not all targets are one type or the other. Some are mixed. Like in this image, as I said, in the early days, I was only shooting narrowband for everything. I had 2600 MC Pro camera, and I have L Ultimate and L Enhance filters. So I used to shoot everything. This is like, I believe, 2023 or 2022, I believe, when I was shooting very early days when I started doing astrophotography. So on the right side, you can see dual narrowband M33, and on the left side, we have hydrogen alpha LRGB. So as you can see, right, there's a big difference. So shooting using the right filters, the right mode is extremely important. But you can always have great images for some objects if you combine narrowband and broadband. And just wanted to share this example. Here it's the same camera, same telescope, same mount. It's just different filters that I used for this image. Now, here's another example. This is just pure broadband Andromeda Galaxy, which I shot for the backyard, which was this summer. Sorry, not this summer, last summer, 2023. Even in this, you can see the nebulosity. You can see the the star forming regions on the bands of the Andromeda Galaxy. But just the 7 hour of addition of HA will give it a totally different look. So as you can see, it will transition into it's the same data that I used for that I was showing before. I just added 7 hours of HA to it. So depending upon what look you're looking for, depending upon what are you trying to achieve with the image, this is pure LRGB, and this is HA LRGB, just addition of HA to LRGB, or we can add O3 as well if I'm able to shoot 100 hours of O3 on this. I keep seeing images on internet about faint O3 around Andromeda, but I don't have that. So only this image I have HA. So you can get a totally different look by combining narrowband plus broadband data. Now, how to add narrowband to broadband data? So narrowband, data contains pure emission line plus the continuum signal as well because of the overlap of the bandwidth. So for better contrast, always remove those continuum signal before adding the subtracted narrowband to the broadband data. There are multiple ways to achieve that. There are scripts within PixInsight to add narrowband to broadband. I have seen some people just use layers in Photoshop and blend the layers using different modes of blending. Lighten is one of those. But I have personally experienced is that if you do not do proper subtraction, for obvious reasons, the contrast is gone. And many times I have personally seen that adding, if I do not subtract broadband, the continuum signal from narrowband and add HA directly to R, then the contrast or the depth of the image is hard to achieve. The Gecko Nebula, which is the background of this, is one of those examples as well, where I subtracted continuum before adding HA back into the data, and then I was able to see a little bit more depth in it, in contrast to if I just add HA directly to R. So do that, and how did I learn about it? Through SJAA email list. I think last year, summer there were some emails on this topic, and I made sure that I took a PDF of that and saved it. And still I use that PDF and share it with other people as well, whoever wants to find out how to do that. It's very useful. SJAA email list. We have a lot of people over there ready to help out and give you feedback and suggestions. So I would highly recommend all the people who are newer to this hobby or starting off, subscribe to the email list and ask questions. There are people who are ready to help out. Now, it all starts with the data. If you don't have a good quality data, don't expect good results. So I'm not going to talk about the back focus and balancing and everything. I believe you guys are always aware of that how important it is to have the accurate back focus, hopefully to the last millimeter of the distance, to have good focus. Balancing the mount is important. If you have that kind of a mount which requires balancing, and then try to achieve that you get the best polar alignment and good guiding. When I say good guiding, it is I have not used I use OAG, so I have not used guide scope at all. I will be using it later on, but so far I have been successful using OAG, and with smaller focal length scopes, OAG works fine. Actually, it's pretty good, less weight, easier on the mount as well to get good guiding, but make sure that you get really good focus on the guide cam, and try to make sure that you have enough stars. And with a smaller focal length, I don't think there's a problem with getting number of stars for guiding, but try to achieve best guiding possible. The image that I'm showing right now is Heart of the Heart Nebula, where I had taken some screenshots, to share with some of the friends. So I'm using it here as well. So I was able to achieve really good guiding, and this is with EQ6R Pro with 9.25 HHD at 2350 mm focal length with not too many stars even. But it is definitely possible to achieve good guiding from our city skies as well. Until summer of last year, I was not doing dither at all. And what I have seen is that many of my images, I had undersampling issues, where the stars were blocky, like 4 pixels of stars and maybe 1 pixel on top, 1 pixel of bottom, things like that. Then I figured out that if I dither, then I can effectively drizzle to get good quality stars, and that is extremely important. I don't have an example here right now, but one thing that, other than removing hot pixels and fixing noise, etc., we most of the time, astrophotographers who are starting on this hobby, we all use shorter focal length scopes, like 400 mm, 350 mm, 500 mm, and most of the time our data is undersampled. And that is pretty obvious if you look at your sub and look at the stars. Blocky, squarish stars are undersampled. And if you dither, then drizzling makes it possible to overcome undersampling issues and getting good stars. So make sure you dither. Now the question comes, how much to dither? So I looked at Cloudy Nights and all of the forums, and I saw somebody providing this link, and I used this link where I plugged in my focal length, guiding camera pixel size, imaging camera pixel size, and whatnot. And then it gave me how many pixels I need to dither effectively. So I dither every frame because most of the time I'm shooting 5-minute frames. So dithering every frame does not become a problem, and it settles. Guiding settles within 8 to 9 seconds, so I do not waste a lot of time as well. But I do overcome undersampling issues with dithering and drizzling. So make sure you drizzle. make sure you dither. That is a good way of getting good stars. So with this image, I can show you, this is a resultant image of the same data that I was showing here, where I was showing the guiding. So this image, I took 60 hours of integration from my backyard using Celestron 2350 HHD and NTLA 2.5 nanometer SHO and RGB filters with each 6-hour Pro mount. So I was able to achieve good guidance throughout this project and dithered every frame. And it definitely helped in getting some small details of this deep space object. And I'm pretty proud of this object. Now, the question comes in, I mentioned that, 60 hours of integration. So how much integration should I have? And answer, it depends. It depends upon your sky. It depends upon the illumination of the object that you are shooting. It all depends upon shooting conditions, how much moon is there. Don't shoot O3 under full moon. I have tried that. It doesn't work. Under full moon, I only shoot HA. Target's brightness is extremely important, and they all play big role. And of course, your scope speed. If I'm shooting at f10, then definitely it's going to use a lot of integration time, as compared to a faster scope. Now, these two images that I'm showing right now, on the left side, Lagoon Nebula, it just have 12 hours of integration, and it came out pretty nice. It got top pick at Astrobin as well, and I think it won ASI Week as well, and some others too. But this one, I'm pretty proud, and it was not too much integration. Lagoon Nebula is also pretty low in the sky. I think it goes up like 29 degrees maximum in the southern horizon. So I didn't have much time to capture last summer as well. But image on the right side has more than 100 hours of narrowband. And it has total integration was 150 hours, because that's the time I was trying to get as much broadband data from my Boreal 7 sky as possible. As I said previously, that a broadband is better suited for darker skies, but for this image on the right side, I tried to shoot broadband from my Boreal 7 backyard, and it was tough to get the contrast and the details. So this image on the right side had 150 hours. So as I said, how much integration? It depends upon the object, depends upon your sky conditions, and it depends upon your telescope speed. Now, if I go further, that how do I determine that where do I stand? So what I do is that when I'm imaging, I keep on taking a stack of of the stuff that I have collected so far, and just do a check auto stretch, Control A shortcut on keyboard to see where do we stand. So to look for of course, when we are shooting objects, we know where we stand. We know what type of object we are shooting and how would it look like. So look for the smoother signals, not pixelated, in the areas that you're interested in. And in this image on the left side, you can see that it's faint. There's no depth in it. There are no details in it, and it's all pixelated. It means that I need to collect more data. On the right side, you can see that it's pretty bright. You can see some details, pretty smooth. There was zero denoising, or there was zero blur exterminator on the right side image, but it still looks pretty nice. So I was pretty happy with this data. So one thing that I always thought, hey, you know what? Maybe I should just measure SNR of my stacked image and say, hey, I'm good. I'm good at SNR. There is no target SNR. Somebody told me who's pretty senior, I would say, and I consider that person my mentor. He told me there's no target SNR. Just look at the result with your eyes and then see if you're happy with it, if you believe that more details can be captured. So I started using that, and I think it's pretty good advice that I wanted to share with you as well. Is that you look at your stacked image and then determine. So this project I haven't completed yet. It's a work in progress. Hopefully later this year I'm gonna collect more data. So right side is HA, left side is O3. So I need to collect more O3 to get a smoother O3 integration. One thing that I have also noticed is that from the city skies, use shorter exposures for broadband. For narrowband, go long, but for broadband targets, if you're shooting, use shorter exposures. 20 seconds sometimes is good enough, so that you do not capture a lot of brightness, the artificial brightness of the sky. And if you're in a dark sky, like if you go to pinnacles, like border 4 or something, or Death Valley, border 2 or border 3, then yeah, go for 5 minutes, 10-minute exposures. But for broadband from city skies, use short exposures always to give you better results. Now we'll come to PixInsight workflow. The first thing that I always do is to use blank and see the frames, the subframes, and discard those frames who have clouds in them, or pretty thick airplane streaks, or some city coming in the way, some tree coming in the way of a telescope. Discard those things. There's no point in putting them or stacking them through the process. So discard those things. I then use WBPP for all integration, calibration, weighting, and yes, of course, talk about calibration. We didn't talk about calibration frames, the flats and darks and flat darks. Make sure capture those. Those are extremely important to clean up the image. But I use WBPP for all the stacking, normalization, registration, etc. After that, I use background extraction, and that's where the fun begins. Many times, it's very hard to use DBE, to be very honest. As a beginner, I struggled with it a lot, especially with the objects which have a lot of nebulosity. It is extremely difficult to use the reference background. There are other ways of doing it. If possible, then use take a different image a little bit away, not too far away from the target, and use that as a reference background. But many times, us the beginners, especially from the city skies and San Jose area, if we get a killer night, we are lucky. So I really don't have time to capture the other parts of the sky nearby our target to use as background reference. So I tend to use ABE many times. Many times, what I do is that for galaxies and something, DBE works perfectly. You know where the object is, and we have to set the sample points and whatnot. But if I have like California nebula, which my whole entire FOV field of view is filled with nebulosity, where is my background? I cannot find them. So what I do is that I try to use ABE, and then sometimes I use ABE and then see if it takes out the stuff, unwanted things, and then I can figure out this could be the background, and I use that as a background on my original image, and then use DBE from there. You know what I'm saying? Is that if I have an image, I wish I could show that, but you can use ABE, make a new image, look for the background, and then set DBE points on it, right? And then use the same reference points on the original image and use DBE. That works. I have tried to use Grexpert AI as well. Honestly, I didn't like it because I believe it takes out more than what I want it to take out. So I stick with DBE most of the time and try to. There's a lot of documentation on PixInsight, and it's too long, to be very honest, to read everything. But there are some useful parts on the documentation which can be used. But the simplest way, the default values, many times they work. So I use DBE most of the time. After background extraction, I use blur exterminator and do correct only, to fix the shape of the stars and whatnot. And if I'm using narrowband, then I sharpen the object also a little bit, 50, 60%. Yeah, I use 0.5, 0.6, not more than that. After that, very little noise exterminator, very little denoising. To be very honest, if you have to use more than 56.5 or 0.6 at NXT, noise exterminator, then it means that you need to do more shooting. You need to collect more data. Do not over denoise the image. It just takes away from the vibrancy, and it becomes pretty obvious that you're trying to get something from your data, which it cannot give you. Right. So after very little noise terminator, if you're doing narrowband, then I make a copy of the image, and first thing I remove stars. I do not use narrowband stars at all now. And then I do linear fit to the stronger channel. If I have S, H, and O, of course, many times you use H, O as well. But let's see if you're using S, H, and O. So I just see which filter has stronger signal, and I use that as a reference and linear fit on the rest of the two. After that, I do a very light stretch on GHS, and then combine channels, whether I want to do SHO, HSO, HO, whatever you want, then use channel combination over there. After that, a little bit more stretching, curves, and color masks, all that usual stuff that we do. But the basic thing that I use is to remove stars, linear fit the two HNO or SNH, whichever it is, to the strongest signal, and then do a light stretch and then combine channels. I have tried to do combination at the linear state for the SHO as well, but I have gotten better result if I lightly stretch and then combine narrowband. For narrowband only. For broadband, I blindly linear fit to green. So red and blue, I linear fit to green, and then I combine channels. After combining channel, I have seen personally that I have to, sometime I used to do DB again, but very rarely. I think it was like only once or twice I had to do that. Otherwise, if I have taken the background, I've extracted background at the earlier stage, then linear fit to green and combined channels, I do not need to use DB again. SPCC is extremely important. I'll talk about that later on in the end as well. But the colors that you get from SPCC is an interesting topic. So let me put it this way: is that many times we tend to just use average spiral galaxy as the white reference for SPCC. It's not necessary to do that. I have personally gotten really interesting results if I try different white reference than just the average spiral galaxy. Many times, if you want to have more blue stars, more some tint of yellow or some other color, just try doing SPCC with different white references. You will be surprised to see what kind of colors you're going to get on the stars, and also the broadband dust. It'll be interesting to do that. So after doing SPCC, I do, blur exterminator and stretching, and then curves and saturation, etc. I try to keep my workflow pretty simple and straightforward. I do not use a lot of normalization scripts for narrowband. I do not use any fancy features that people use many times from scripts and automation, because by keeping things simple and straightforward, it just gives you the control, and it gives you it gives your image the look that you want to give. I'll come to that in the end as well. And to be very honest, if you, in doing post-processing, if you come across a situation where you have to do a lot of things, where you have to create a lot of masks, if you have to do a lot of, invert the image and uninvert the image and do all those kind of masking and stretching specific areas of the object, then most of the time you will lose control of your image, and the result will not be what you wanted to achieve. Many times it required more data. Many times it may be that your image was oversampled and undersampled a lot, or it may be just because the object requires more integration. So that's the usual PixInsight workflow. For narrowband imaging, always image stars using broadband, and then stars back into the narrowband image in the end. It does not take too much time. It does, if you're using OSC color camera, one shot, then 1 hour of broadband is enough for getting just the stars of that region. If you are shooting mono, then 30 minutes each on RGB. If you can add L also to it, it will give better colors to the star. I have personally seen that when shooting stars, instead of shooting just RGB, 30 minutes each, if you just add the same exposure time and add L to it, then you will get really beautiful looking stars. So always image stars using broadband, and then add stars in the end. Now, if you come to stars processing, we all like to have round, beautiful, small, colorful stars, and they really make the deep sky image more attractive. And personally, I did not pay attention until the middle of the last year, 2023. I think I have examples in the next slide. There it is. So you can see image on the left side. It's a crescent nebula. You can see odd shaped looking stars. And it was summer of last year when I was shooting it. And I was pretty happy with this image. It's a portion of the image. If you look at the complete image on my Astrobin, the main crescent nebula looks very nice to it. It has good soft O3 layer around it, and then it has very nice details at 2350 mm. But when I started paying attention to stars, I was really shocked to see how bad those stars were. Those are sharp Mickey Mouse shaped stars, and then some other objects that you can see in this image as well is sharp and bright. I think it could be a smaller galaxy in the background that I overstretched. But I didn't pay attention to the background and to the stars. I think it is important, extremely important to have that. Now, whenever I look at the image, the first thing I go and then see is that zoom in and check stars. Whenever I see an astro image, and whenever I and I'm close to finalizing my image, I pay close attention to stars. So on the right side, HFG1 image, which I shot, it has much better looking stars. They're soft. Their shapes are round, and there are other smaller objects in this FOV which are not overstretched. So we're going to talk about that as well. So you can see the difference between the two images, and softer ground stars make your extra image better. So coming back to the previous slide, then there are often smaller galaxies from our point of reference in the background. Make sure that we pay attention to those things. We talked about the 30-minute RGB and SPCC for star colors, and trying different white references for that. And don't try to over sharpen stars. We tend to sharpen stars a lot. I used to do that as well, and used to have really sharp stars, sharp round stars with sharp edge. I don't think they look good. If you end up in that situation, just apply a little convolution to star image to make them a little softer. I always try to do that when I'm close to finishing the object and I'm processing stars only. I will go zoom in, look at the stars, see if they are sharp or not sharp. If they're super sharp, I try to add a little convolution to it, and try to give it a softer look. There are many times smaller galaxies in the background, and it's very easy to ignore them. And when we are stretching the main object, since we take out the stars and then we are stretching the main object, is basically the background and the object, main object, and those smaller galaxies tend to get overstretched and tend to have they don't look good. So one thing that I have seen works very well is to create a range mask. When you're ready to stretch, make a range mask, clone stamp the main object, and just leave the mask on the smaller background structures, and apply and use that mask to protect those background structures while you are stretching the main object. When you are done stretching the main object, then use the same mask to stretch the background object to the point where they look nice and they don't look overstretched or over sharp. So that has worked. This process has worked quite nicely for me, where I protect the background, smaller objects and galaxies, etc., using range mask. And when you are using that mask to protect the background and stretching the main object, keep an eye throughout the process of the post-processing, and keep checking how they are coming along. If you want to, maybe make the mask a little stronger, sometime I just, stretch them using histogram stretch to make them a little bit more protective of the background structures if I believe that mask is not protecting them completely. So use them wisely to protect the background. And when you are done post-processing, we all know we all want to share our end result very quickly to the world. Take a break. Take a break, go back, come back next day with a fresh set of eyes, and then look at your image again. And trust me, I have found so many things that way, that the image looks perfect, and it's like 1 a.m. in the morning, and I've been post-processing it, very carefully for the last 5 hours, and I'm ready to post an Astrobin and show it to the world, the work that I have done. If I just don't do it, come back the next day, take a look at it, and then you will see, man, what is this? It needs to be fixed. This has happened so many times. Another good way of doing it is that post an Astrobin, and then keep it private, and then share the link with your friends, with some people that you seek feedback from. I do that all the time. There are several people that have become astro friends and good friends also. And I share with them, get honest feedback, and fix things accordingly. And there'll be a lot of people. SJAA imaging list is a very nice place. If you are if you're not sure about the image, if you want to seek feedback, post that on Astrobin. Don't share it to the public, and send the link and seek feedback. I think there are several people on that email list where they'll be willing to provide feedback. We talked about good stars, bad stars. Last thing I want to say here is that don't try to copy anyone. I try to do that. I used to basically say, hey, this is an apod, and then I want to have image like this, and then now I'm realizing that some apod are not worthy of copying or try to match. But bring your own style, and bring your own creativity. That's important. The reason why I wanted to show is that this is M45, and I process it a few weeks ago. I get data from two other friends. I had some data as well, and I put it together. So normally this object is showed in a blue hue, and just blue all over, just blue all over. And I was bored of that. So I used 2 or 3 different white references in SPCC, and they gave me different colors, and I made a blend of those to came up with this M45 that you're seeing here on this side. It was fun. I posted that somewhere, and one of the guys just said one word, nope. I said, okay, that's fine. But it got really interesting rendering of this object. And I was just bored of blue for this object. So I wanted to give it different shape. So bring your own style. It's mostly art, post-processing, and you are doing it to please yourself. You're not doing it for others. At least I'm not doing for others. I'm doing it to enjoy and have fun. That's the main part. Have fun with this object, and do it for yourself. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Imran. That was wonderful. Well, let me open it up for questions. Anybody have anything to ask Imran? Well, I often have to start and ask a question to get things going. Let me ask you, so you have a number of cameras. When do you use one versus the other? You have a one shot, you've got a filter bank camera. Why one versus the other?
Thank you. I think it's a great question. I started off with one shot color camera. I started off with 2600 MC Pro. It was easier. Mono, I used to think it's a big deal, to be very honest. And it was easier to just go out there, put the camera, understand the rest of the things, because there are so many things I did not understand when I was starting off, and I did not want to go into the complexity of multiple types of filters like S, H, O, L, R, G, B. I said, damn, just so much. How can I just capture so much data and then put them together? I did not even know. I used to use Deep Sky Stacker at that time. I did not know PixInsight. The BPP was something too elite for me. So during early days, it's easier to use one-shot color camera just for the ease of use. So I started using that. Then last year summer, actually, it was June or July of last year when I bought my first mono camera, 2600 mm. By that time, I was comfortable with post-processing, with stacking, understanding, how the process works. And so I started using mono camera at that time. One thing that is important also, that even right now I use a combination of mono and and OSC at times. If I know that I won't be able to have enough time to shoot stars, then I just plug in 2600 MC Pro and then shoot for 30-minute stars and then use them as in my narrowband image which I shot using mono. So it is kind of pretty handy. And to be very honest, I feel that when I'm having a one-night trip to Pinnacles West, OSC is the best choice. Because, changing filters, refocusing when you change filter, and then, all those things take time. So having a one-shot color camera, a quick visit to the dark side, you have 4 or 5 hours that you want to shoot because you want to shoot 2 objects in one night. One-shot color camera is the best choice.
All right. Thank you. All right. Other questions for Imran?
I guess not a question, but it's really impressive. I would say progression in just a bit over a year and a half. That's really impressive. You mentioned that you have mentors. So is it, what did you find useful in having somebody that can, with whom to share information? Is it that you do, let's say, body processing, body imaging, or maybe it's somebody on the other side of the world, and so all you can do is to interact via Zoom or some other remote software?
Good question, Francesca. No, I haven't done any, body processing or this M45 is only collaboration that I have done, and it was like, hey, I have 5 hours of M45 from Death Valley. Do you have any data? And 2 other friends say, yeah, I have these many hours on at F2 and these many hours on F5. I said, send them over. I'll just type them together. So that's a kind of thing I did, but I have not done. So I found, how did I find people who can help me? SJAA imaging list is a great place. The process of adding narrowband to broadband data, Francesco, was your email that I used from, I think, April of last year. Through social media like Facebook and Instagram, when you share your image, when you comment on something, ask question, there are people who respond. And even right now in the Bay Area, outside of SJAA, in the Tri-Valley group as well, I have several people over there, several good friends who I seek feedback from and provide feedback to. So, and through Astrobin as well, I came in contact with a couple of people who have really great images, and they were kind enough to guide me, to help me about, if I have any question about what do I do in this situation, how this image looks. I'm having problem with background extraction. Point me to some documentation where I can read something. I think those kind of support and help. I was really pleased that there are so many people who are willing to help you out.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesca.
Hi, Imran. I'm kind of starting out as well, and I found that the processing is the most challenging part for me. I've found that I can get some sharp images and all, but I think especially the software that you use, the Pleiades, is very nice, but a little bit complicated to start out. Is there something that you would recommend to folks to have a look at or read from to get going with all the different processes that you mentioned? I'm only shooting the one-shot color right now.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, until June of last year, I was shooting one-shot color camera, and those are great cameras for galaxies, for example. The image that I love the most is this one. Let me show you. Not this one, not this one. Damn it, where did it go? This one. Not this one. The Sombrero Galaxy on the left. That's my favorite Galaxy. Is 533 MC Pro camera with a $12 UV filter on a Celestron SCT at 2350. So I think it was 1690 mm with the reducer. So color camera is great for shooting some really awesome images. And I'm planning to shoot this year with Bono, but I'm still very much proud of this image. And I keep on seeing on Facebook, it keeps on making rounds. By the way, stars are very bad in this image. So you can take a look on my Astrophotography and figure out that the star shapes are off. But to start off with a color camera is a great way to start, because you don't have to, worry about too many calibration frames. You don't have to worry about getting too much time to capture data. Start off with bright objects using color shot camera, one-shot color camera. Use 5, 6, 7 hours of integration of shooting on your color camera, and then keep your processing pretty simple and straightforward. As I mentioned, don't use DBE, use ABE. Don't do any extra sharpening or extra denoising of those things. Keep them simple and straightforward. The process that I mentioned in one of the slides here are the simplest process I still use all the time.
Hey, Imran.
Yeah.
I think also Chris is asking, he's saying, and I bet all of us have this experience, that PixInsight is a pretty complicated program to get started with, and he was curious how to
DSS, use Deep Sky Stack. DSS is also pretty simple to use, but PixInsight, yes, it is not as intuitive. Let me tell you this thing. You have to know where you have to go. Many times, what people use is that in PixInsight, they list down the process icons in the order that they're supposed to be, and they just drag drop to understand what is happening at each stage. That's another great way of using it. But if you're looking for some very high level view or simplistic view of how to use PixInsight, there are several online tutorials out there, good YouTube videos. I don't have a link handy right now, but definitely I will share that with, actually, one of SJAA member is coming to my house on Saturday, and I'm planning to show him the simpler way of what steps to use for PixInsight to process. Maybe I will just record that and share it with the team, with the people here on this call.
That's really cool. Just a quick follow-up. So when you say, 5 or 6 hours of integration, I'm lucky if I can stay awake that long on one night. So imagine what that means is that you actually will go to some dark location and then spend a whole weekend. Is that right? Where you would get 2 or 3 nights to put together? Or?
No, not necessarily.
No?
5, 6 hours. As I said, right, the Helix Nebula, this is 5 hours from my backyard. So there are objects out there where you can shoot really great images with one shot. This is with one shot color camera, 2600 MC Pro with L Ultimate filter, and I think 5 or 6 hours of integration maximum, not more than that. So you really do not need that. And depending upon what automation or controller process you are using, if I use ASI Air, both Plus and Pro, and it's pretty easy to set up how much time I want to use, whether to do meridian flip or not. And at the end of my imaging section, I can go back to home position and turn off. so that when I wake up at 10 a.m. next morning, it's not baking in the sun and trying to cool off the sensors still. So I can turn off my camera at that time. So it's pretty easy to do overnight imaging. You don't have to stay up entire night. If I'm using a controller like Eagle from Primalucci or ZWO ASI Air, or one day hopefully I'll be fancy enough to use Nina.
Very cool. Thanks so much.
Are there more questions? Well, if not, well, thank you very much, Imran. That was wonderful.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It was really fun. I was really nervous what to say.
Did a great
how it
job.
go, but it was really fun.
Please unmute and give Imran your applause in the recording. So thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Have a good rest of the night.
Thank you, Imran. Thank you. Hi.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.